Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Monster vs. Monster here on the D&D CR Exposed YouTube channel. Looks like I might be coming in a little hot here. And now my cat wants to sit on my lap. Now that I've moved my hands in preparation for this stream. Okay, let's see here. Any better? That seems better. Maybe a little too loud. Let me know if I'm too low. No, the comic series called Weekly Roll. Oh, there was a Cult of Not 20. Gotcha. Nice. Look at Journal D&D. I haven't looked in there yet. Thank you for the clarification there, Hair Doctor. Okay, so what are we doing here? Well, we've got... Cornucopia. Hello, bud. Good to see you. Glad you could make it. Hopefully you can stick around for a little bit. I know it's rather late for the two of you. But what are we doing here? We've got more monsters versus monsters here, and, we're like to pit them against each other to see what happens. I feel like canonically Fiends should have this. Yeah, they probably will. I mean, it's two chunky boy Fiends versus a bunch of, pincushion humans. We'll see what happens in a moment. Why else would the cultists summon them? Exactly. It's a good question. So, yes, the story is what's going on here. Well, looks like we had a bunch of cultists here by the name of Noha, Revim, Orden, Bear, and Boff. A bunch of, lackey cultist fanatics down here that were trying to summon in their deity. And, obviously they must have missed something or had some missing ingredients. Who knows exactly, but something went wrong. And they ended up summoning these guys. We have ourselves an Armanite, a, demonic centaur, and a howler, which is just like some weird screamy dog fiend thing. And they are named Rorzad and Traz. Now, I like to think that in the background here, there's more of these Armanites and Howlers that are just waiting to come through, and these two just happened to be right next to the portal when it opened up. Let's see here. Vincent Roberto finally found time to watch this live. I am watching this as I'm writing a paper for AP US History. This should be amazing. Well, good luck with the paper there for US History, and hopefully you get a good grade on it. Okay, so our cultists have been summoning something, and, they tried to get their deity. Didn't go correctly. Maybe this is the splatter of someone that sacrificed themselves, and it just wasn't quite enough. And sure enough, they've opened a portal to hell, but not the hells that they were expecting. Maybe they were expecting another realm that their deity lives in. Who knows? But we have this really immaculate artwork here by Ches and Peku, who I always recommend getting. Like, they're probably like one of the top, map artists for D&D, Pathfinder, and so on for your fantasy map needs. But anyways, we'll get to the business at the end of this, encounter, and let's get right into this. Let's start with round one here. I've already got all of our monsters in the, in the encounter here, and, if you're here in the chat, go ahead and, click on whoever you think for the poll of who might win this, either the Fiends or the Cultists. I mean, in the end, does anyone really win? If the Cultists win or the Fiends? I don't know. But anyways, let's go ahead and begin combat and roll a whole bunch of d20s. Okay. I started combat. That's right. Now, let's roll those d20s. Kind of forgot what I was doing. Okay, so we got a whole bunch of rolls here. As we can see on the right side, the results are going on. And it looks like Noha, our Warlock of the Fiend, I believe she is. Yes, Warlock of the Fiend gets to go first, followed by Rorzad, Traz, and then our cultist or cult fanatics. So, starting round one, let's go ahead and take a look at what Noha can do. Now, Noha has a few spells for her spell list. She's a Monsters of the Multiverse upgrade, so she has less spells than she used to have, and really nothing too important here. She already has Mage Armor on herself. She has Alter Self for some stuff, Suggestion, Plane Shift, and Banishment. Banishment could come in handy later on. But, let's just go ahead and use her main ability, which is the, not cast spells, but the Hellfire, which is a really strong spell. And let's see here. The Warlock can also make 3 scimitar attacks. So from here, the Hellfire has a range of, doesn't say. Green fires explode in a 10-foot radius sphere centered on a point within 120 feet of the Warlock. So let's go ahead and see how far range goes. 65 feet. Easily can target both of the beasts here if they were put together enough. But knowing what I know about the Warlock of the Fiend, because I've used this monster before, it's not quite big enough. Oh no, it is big enough. Look at that. It's a, was that 20-foot radius, 10-foot radius? I don't know. But whatever's happening here, she can definitely hit both of them. So technically, we could just target this and it explodes right there. So we'll go ahead and do that just for the fun of it. We get a whole bunch of Hellfire here. And let's see what happens on the right side here. We got a couple things going on first. First, they have a DC 15 dexterity save to make to take 16 fire damage and 11 necrotic damage. Now, considering she's fighting demons or devils here, or fiends, I'm not quite sure which one they are, they're probably resistant to a few of these damages here. So let's see what we got. We have a total of 32 damage and a dexterity save of 15. Troz succeeds with a 21, and Rorzod also succeeds with a 22. So they both take half damage and only get dealt 11 points of this damage. So it looks like our two monsters here aren't actually immune to fire or necrotic damage. Let's just double check that real quick and verify. Well, we have damage resistance to fire here, so that should actually half the damage even further. So 32 and half, yes, that would be 16, and then another half for that would drop it down to, I guess, 11? Let's see here. So the fire damage, 15 in half and in half again. So yeah, it looks like it's doing everything correct, but they're not immune to necrotic damage. So they're taking the full brunt of the necrotic and 25% of the fire damage, at least from Howler. And then for Rorzod, looks like the same deal. Resistance to fire, but not to necrotic. So we're getting, what, like 75% power here? Banishment is literal, go back where you belong in this situation. It really is, Hair Doctor. And Spiritual Weapon, it's doubling damage. Okay. Yeah, oh, for sure. We got a whole bunch of cult fanatics here that can do spiritual weapons. So this will be fun. Okay, so the Hellfire goes off, exploding and dealing, you know, these two demons, fiends, what are they? Fiends. A bunch of fire and necrotic damage. Resistant to the fire, not to the necrotic. Okay, so let's go ahead and get rid of that template there. And we will end Noha's turn, which it looks like it may have already done that, which is fine. And we move on to Rorzod. And Rorzod is our crazy centaur fiend here. And we'll take a look quickly at the abilities that Rorzod can do. So for the features, we have a multi-attack of, let's see here, 1 claw attack and 1 hooves and 1 serrated tail, or a lightning lance. And let's see here. The Armor Knight looses a bolt of lightning in a line that is 60 feet long and 10 feet wide. Each creature in the line makes a dex save or takes lightning damage. So let's see here. What is the 60 feet long? Okay, so first off, Rorzod's going to hop down. And that's going to be, yeah, I mean, we'll say it's 30 feet. Rorzod can move 60, so, you know, it'll be a partial movement down here onto this. And then is going to go ahead and do the lightning bolt. And then make some room for the buddy Troz, who's right next. Okay, so let's see here. Use the feature, and we're going to go for Lightning Lance. Let's click it. Come on, I want to use it. All right, we'll do it this way then. Exactly. What's going on here? All right, so I don't know why Lightning Lance isn't exactly working. Let's take a quick look in here. Default lightning damage, saving throw, formula, dex save. Targets should be, let's see here. Range. So we're going to do 60 feet. And that is going to be that. Target. We'll have, actually, I don't know how to do lines. Oh. 10-foot line, maybe? Range 60. Let's see if that works. All right, let's try this again. Oh, not far enough. Okay. Interesting. Okay. Let's try this one more time real quick while we fix this. So we'll go ahead and we'll say that's already charged. And it is a 60-foot line. Line width is 10 feet. There we go. And we will get rid of all that nonsense there because we don't have to worry about the range. Okay, let's put him back into place. Now, let's go ahead and do that lightning lance. So, technically, we could, in theory, place it like this, I would say, and be able to hit 3. I mean, you guys could tell me. Technically, we're supposed to stick it to those, so I will say sure. I'm not going to really go overboard, and our fiend is going to go ahead and just annihilate with lightning damage here. So we'll go ahead and put that down. A whole bunch of lightning damage, and some spears get thrown apparently. And sure enough, we've already got 1 dead cultist. Oof. Big oof there. Oh my goodness. Okay, so let's see what happened here. We have a bunch of things going on. We've got dexterity saving throws and 36 lightning damage on average. Rorzod rolls over the average for 46 points of damage, and Noha fails with a 4, and Burr fails with a 3. Burr didn't even get a chance, and is already just zapped into a... You know those movies where, you know, someone gets fried in an electric chair, but it's overdone, so they're just a smoking corpse of skeleton, black charred skeleton? Basically what I'm expecting here, as Noha's almost the same as well. Exactly. Oh my gods. Alright, so that ends that turn, as Rorzod finishes off his move, moving over to the side to make room for Howler. And he's just gonna, you know, no doubt run right up to Ordan, who is now looking over, sees Burr dead and Noha almost dead, and is quaking in his boots as to the just insaneness that they've summoned here. Yeah, exactly. Getting killed by summoned demons is part of the cultist experience. Very true, Cornucopia. So that ends Rorzod's turn with a very strong opening round here. Up next, we have Troz, who has a 40-foot movement, and he's going to plop down 40 feet. Or 30 feet onto the landing, and then we'll say moves up another 10 feet and can't really do too much else. So let's see, what else do we have here? For features, we have a multi-attack and the mind-breaking howl. Okay, so we have a whole bunch of rending things that we can do with 2 rending bite attacks. And these bites are for basically if they have full damage or not. Basically, the howler will always have the full damage from the rending bite. The base comes if it, like, ignores damage resistance or something to that effect. But then we also have the mind-breaking howl. So the howl enters the howler emits a keening howl in a 60-foot cone. Each creature in the area must succeed on a wisdom save or take psychic damage and be frightened until the end of the next turn. While they're frightened, they do all sorts of stuff. So we're going to go ahead and do the mind-breaking howl off of Troz here. Exactly. Exactly, Ordan. For Ordan there. Okay, Troz. We're going to use the feature and do the mind-breaking howl. Okay, so we'll go ahead and spin this a bit, and we will just emit the howl here to go out and hit Boff and Noha. Oh, I like that graphic. Oh, man. Awesome. Awesome stuff going on here. All right, so let's see what's going on here. We have... like I said, we're taking some psychic damage, we're checking to be frightened, and we have a DC 13. So Noha succeeds with a 21, and let's see here. What happens with that? Wisdom taking psychic throw, or they take... let's see here. A successful save is immune to the mind-breaking howl of all howlers for the next 24 hours, but takes the damage. Looks like technically half damage, although I don't believe she's supposed to take half damage. But we'll just leave it at that for now. And then Boff fails with a 7, is frightened, and is incapacitated. So we'll go ahead and throw on frightened and incapacitated on Boff. Alright, so let's see here. We have frightened and incapacitated. So he really can't do much of anything at all. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and get rid of the template. And let's get rid of that extra template up there. And we will finish off Troz's turn, as that's about all he can do for this round. Unfortunately, Burr is dead, so Burr can't go. Julian Calero, how would giving these cultists whips and daggers instead of scimitars giving them a d20 undead resistance and poison resistance, both kinds, at the cost of 2 AC affect the CR of said cultists? Well, the whips, let's see here, might not do much difference, even though we would have reach. The whip is the same as the dagger, more or less in damage, so that doesn't really change the offensive CR. And then giving them D20 undead resistance and poison resistance. It would definitely raise their defensive CR, so their overall CR might increase just a little bit. They are what? CR 1s? 2s. This might, what you suggest there, Julian, might increase them to a 3, but just barely. I don't think it would really do much else, really. Considering we only have 1 poison's resistance and 1 undead resistance, we generally need 3. Okay, Hair Doctor. Boff's fight or flight went flop. Exactly. Boff can't really do much of anything. And considering it's Burr's turn, who is, you know, a charred skeleton, we're moving on to Boff, who is frightened and incapacitated and can't do anything. Except technically take bonus actions. Technically, because it says no actions, but we could categorize bonus actions as an action, so we can't do anything. So Boff just stands there, frightened, probably pooped their, you know, robes. Up next we have Revum, and Revum is going to... what is Revum going to do? Well, they're still technically not outnumbered, and they're still going pretty strong here. So Revum is going to use a bonus action to cast Spiritual Weapon here. So let's go ahead and target Rorzod, since Rorzod's the first one here. And we will go ahead and look at the bonus action for Spiritual Weapon. Okay, we're going to cast it as a 2nd level using one of the 3 spell slots and place the measured template right there. And, you know, some nice little magic goes on. We get some attack rolls and we get a critical hit. Ooh, our Spiritual Weapon critically hits, dealing 5 force damage. Wow. That was terrible. 2d8. Rolled a 3 and a 1. Oh, goodness. Only 5 force damage. Oh, no. Okay, so even with a critical hit, the Spiritual Weapon doesn't do the greatest, but let's see what Revum can also do for a regular action. Yeah, exactly, Spiritual Weapon. Didn't really do much. Okay, so let's take a look at Revum's bonus actions here. I believe they have a... gotta move my cat real quick. A cantrip here for Sacred Flame, which they do. Perfect. So we're gonna go ahead and cast Sacred Flame on Rorzod, and Revum calls out to his, we'll say, undead deity for vengeance against Rorzod for killing his buddy Burr. Okay. And we have a 4 for the damage, and we have, let's see here, what was the DC? Was it DC? I think there was a DC, right? Dexterity save, yes. DC 11 for Sacred Flames, and Rorzod fails with advantage and rolls a 7. So, Rorzod takes 4 points of force damage. And as we can see here by the hit point bar, not a lot going on. But Revum is holding strong because he's like, yeah, I did it. I did it. All right. So, the next question is, what happens after this? Well, we pull back our combat tracker because I somehow lost that. And we move on to Orden. And Orden is right here. He's also going to cast... I mean, he's right up there. He's going to go ahead and cast his Spiritual Weapon as well. So we'll go ahead and do that as a bonus action. Might as well get him out. See what happens. So we'll put that one right there. 2 Spiritual Weapons going on. And we're going to have a roll of a 5 and misses Rorzod with the Spiritual Weapon somehow. Unfortunately, doesn't do anything. Magic specifically crafted for bonking. Yes, indeed, Hair Doctor. Okay, so that doesn't really do too much. So Orden, does he pull out a knife? Does he go for the Sacred Flame? I think he's going to go with Sacred Flame. It's not a spell attack, so it's not going to worry about any kind of disadvantages. And, the Rorzod has to make a dex save. Now he succeeds this time with a DC rolling a 15 and beats the dexterity save, taking no damage from the Sacred Undead Flames. And unfortunately, Rorzod takes no damage for the cultists. He freaking runs. That's what he does. Oh, yeah, they'll be running next for sure. And that is the end of round 1. We have 1 dead cultist. We have a really hurt, Warlock of the Fiend. And we have a whole bunch of nasty undead, or fiends, coming in and just trouncing these These cultists. What was the CR for this? A 7 and I think it was 15? 7 and 8? Yeah, totally a CR 15. Oof, not looking good. Not looking good. Top of round 2, we have Noah here, who is going to attempt to banish Rorzad back to his plane, considering he seems to be the most damaged or dangerous one. So we're going to go ahead and have Noah target Rorzad and cast Banishment. And let's see what happens if this actually works or not. Alright, so we have Banishment, range is 60 feet, and she just calls out, Rorzad, back to where you came from, foul fiend. And let's see what happens. Oh, goodness. Okay, so we have a DC 15 Charisma saving throw, and with advantage, because of magic resistance, Rorzad passes with an 18, and the Fiend just whispers back into the Noha's mind, no, child, he is here for a reason. Exactly, banishment time unfortunately failed. And we only had one casting of it, as we see by the 0 here, and that is it for that. Noha, being already kind of hurt, is going to start doing that whole like, I think I left my oven on, and I need to go check that, and starts moving down, you know, and getting out of here. All right, up next is Rorzad. And Rorzad is going to first make a lightning check. So let's see here. Right. How do I go about doing that check? Lightning Lance? Nope. I need to... Alright, let's just open that up, because it should be on a recharge, yes. So we'll go ahead and see if we recharged. Oh, and he rolls a 5. So he does recharge. Oh, boy. Okay. So, Rorzad's going to move in such a way that he lines up a couple more of these cultists just for the fun of it. And he's going to go over to here. And he doesn't leave anyone's threat range. And then casts Lightning Lance once again. But because Noha is kind of down and out of the way, Rorzad can't really hit Noah how far down she is. We'll say, you know, 15, 20 feet, so it's not going to really work, and it doesn't line up very well. So Rorzad's going to take this chance to go ahead and use Lightning Lance over here instead. So we'll spin that around and just zaps Revum and Boff. And, oh, wow. Revum actually survived. Wow. How did Revum survive? Okay. So we have a DC of 15 for a dexterity save, 24 points of damage. Boff fails with a 5 and Revum fails with a 14. Okay, so it looks like Revum had more hit points left over. That's why. And, wow. So 24 points of damage, kills Boff outright, and critically wounds Revum, who is just about dead. Revum needs to make no, they don't have to make, because the spiritual weapon is out permanently for the next round. Where are the paladins when you need them? Yeah, exactly. Some evil paladins would have been good for this encounter. Oh well, cultists weren't ready. They just were like, you know what? We got this. But in all actuality, no, they don't. Okay, so that's Rorzad's turn. Rorzad's just going to kind of hang out there and finish off his turn. And it's going to chase down Noha next for sure. Traz, on the other hand, comes pouncing. Oops, I don't know what I'm doing there. Let's get rid of that template. And comes pouncing down over to here. Gets right into you know, range, and goes after Revum, because Revum is already really wounded. And let's see here. So we got 2 attacks. Yeah, exactly. They were some sacrificed to summon the fiends, probably. That's actually a really good visual, sadly. Okay, so we have a multi-attack. The Howler makes 2 rending bite attacks with the full bite. And let's see here. This attack ignores resistances. So he's going to come in and take the first attack on. Let's see here. That's the base. That's the full. Takes the first attack on Revum. So let's see what happens with the first attack here. Ooh, that is a 5 base and a total of 11 to hit Revum, and misses somehow. I guess maybe from the electrocution, Revum is just jolting around, and Traz can't get a good, you know, bite and swipe on him. So goes in for a second rending bite attack on Revum, and rolls a base 8, total of 14, which does connect, dealing 34 points of damage, and finishes off Revum as Traz just grabs him like a dog with a rubber chicken, whips it around a bunch, and then throws Revum, you know, off the side. And we're going to say Revum goes moving all the way over here and splats right in front of Noah, who kind of gives off one of those yelps of like, oh, ah! And yeah, that is the end of Revum, as these fiends are just destroying things. They did not. We don't know the full story. We've only come into this right as the battle commences, so who knows if a paladin was unfortunately sacrificed. Sometimes these things do happen. All right, so our first, let's see here, our first spiritual weapon is now officially gone. So we'll go ahead and get rid of that one. And now our, well, they're not necessarily outnumbered, but they are outclassed. And up next is Orden. As Traz finishes off the turn right there, basically keeping Orden in play, in the place there. And Orden is going to use his turn to disengage, and that is right here. Cult Fanatic is incapacitated. Oh, I am clicking on the wrong one. There we go. Let's try that again. Cult Fanatic is incapacitated. That's funny. I don't know why I keep saying that. All right. Let me target the right one instead and see what happens. Nope, won't let me do it. I don't know why. All right, disengages, moves to here, jumps down, we'll say another, that was like 20 feet or so, and then tries to get away. So we're going to have him do an acrobatics check to kind of hit the landing. We'll see what happens here. Acrobatics check, +2. DC, we'll say, I don't know, 12. I'm not looking at the screen. Oh, it is a 12. Perfect. With the 14. All right, so hits, rolls, and is able to get out of the way for there. Disengages, but that's as far as he can move. And as a bonus action, tries to distract Traz. So it has the spiritual weapon move and attack. All right, so we're going to have Traz go in for spiritual weapon go in for an attack on Traz. And we'll see what happens here in a second. Okay, so we're targeting Traz. We're going to use the spiritual weapon. We're not going to consume the spell slot or place a measured template, and just roll. Okay. And, alright, whatever. There we go. Alright, so we have a base 18, total of 21, and the spiritual weapon deals 4 points of force damage against Traz, who, you know, considering, let's take a look at their intelligence here, or the wisdom. Intelligence is a 5, so maybe they're distracted. Although the wisdom would say otherwise. So, you know, the intelligence says like, okay, one-track mind, but the wisdom knows how to kind of go about switching targets and whatnot. So may not use, the wisdom knows that like, oh, this is a spectral weapon. I can't attack it. Let's move on. All right, so this is the end of round 2. Wow, this is a quick combat. And we end round 2. And go to the top of round 3 with Noha, who is... what can Noha do? Anything in particular? Well, we could do a plane shift and end this right out. I mean, she is a Warlock of the Fiend, probably wants to try and save herself. Any alignment. Probably Chaotic Evil. Would probably not bother to save Orden because he's just a cultist. So yeah, Noha's going to go ahead and use plane shift on herself and try an attempt to shift to her, her deity's plane and get the F out. So that's what she's gonna do. As everything is kind of going to a mess anyways, why not save yourself? So let's see here. Go for the innate spells, and she looks over at Ordan, says, "Sorry. Maybe in another lifetime," and plane shifts out. Warlock Fiend is 20 feet away. Oh, yeah. Okay. So, let's see here. Target herself. We switch back to that, and, yeah, plane shift. So, let's see here. Cast a spell. I don't know why I'm rolling damage here. Whatever. And Noha blinks out as she plane shifts out of here. Out of the encounter, and all we have left is Ordan, who is just kind of rolled off the ground and freaks out as he sees Noha just disappear into nothingness, and is left standing with Rorzad and Traz, who look, turn, and just gleefully laugh at the misbegotten cultist. See you in hell! Exactly. All right, that's the end of Noah's turn, and Rorzad just saunters down the steps, you know, in that demonic voice. You think, excuse me, hold on. You think that you could summon the correct demons. And goes in and just, you know, totally eviscerates Orden here. Okay, going in for the attack. We'll finish this off real quick. And let's see here. What do we have for features? It was a multi-attack of claw attack, hooves, and serrated tail. All right, so claw attack. Attack number 1 on Orden. 18 base, total of 26, dealing a whole lot of damage. 18 in total, dealing a critical hit. Well, I didn't say critical, but bloodying Orden. Switches up to the hooves after a couple claw rakes. Rears back to strike with the hooves. For a base 14, total of 22 to hit. Plunging the hooves deep down into Orden here for 16 points of damage. And Orden surprisingly succeeds with a DC 16 strength check, rolling a 19 to not be knocked prone, and then Rorzad swings with the serrated tail. And base 17, total 25 to hit, dealing 17 points of damage and defeating Orden. Finishing off the cult fanatics here as the, you know, as the spiritual weapon is destroyed. Rorzad walks back up to Traz, pats Traz on the head, and then walks over to the portal that has been left open and calls out to the other Armanites and other fiends that are still here, waiting on the other side that the area is clear. And now this section of the world has a massive problem to deal with. But that encounter is for another time. Thank you all so much for joining, as this was a really quick one. I'm impressed at how fast this went. But then again, you know, a bunch of squishy cultists and a couple big-time fiends here. No doubt. No wonder. Was there any doubt? No, not really. There really wasn't ever any doubt here. And let's go ahead and end the poll. So let's see here. As for the poll, we had 88% for the Fiends and 11% for the Cultists. And the 88% of you that voted for the Fiends got it right. The Fiends definitely won this. And now there's a demonic insurgence in the area for wherever this cultist summoning circle was. So maybe we'll see the results of that in another later on monster versus monster battle in a future time. Who knows? We'll see what happens. Now, for the quick business, if you're wondering what platform I'm using, I always use Foundry. I love Foundry. I updated it from Roll20 to Foundry, and it's a great investment for a one-time fee, and then you can mod the heck out of it. This battle map was produced by Chesenpeku. Check out Chesenpeku at patreon.com/Chesenpeku. No affiliation, just really enjoy their maps. They do a fantastic job. And, you know, honestly, for what this what was entailed here, it's a good reason why I always use Chesenpeku or some of the other ones. So check out those other videos to see the other maps that I use and the creators from there. The music was used. It's a free song from the music YouTube music library. I don't remember off the top of my head. It'll be linked in the show, description down below. And yeah, that's pretty much it. All of the artwork here are tokens, official artwork from Wizards of the Coast and D&D and other sources where they are all attributed. I own none of those. Those are not my artwork. Okay, so that's the business out of the way. And anything I'd like to share about the next planned Monster vs. Monster? I don't have it up ready. Let me pull that up really quick while we're still here and see if I can get you guys a sneak peek at what might be next, a little hint, a little taste of what is going on for next week's encounters. So it looks like the next one has something to do with reptiles and a swamp. So there's your little tidbit of what might be happening on the next Monster vs. Monster. Bunch of reptiles battling out for territory, possibly. All right, so let's see here. Julian, what do you have? Do you accept minorly homebrewed monsters for these fights? Maybe. If I have it ready and it doesn't take too long to set up, I probably could, Julian. Sure. If you want to suggest something, go ahead and check the form, the link below for the Google form, and you could throw that in there. And finally, we get a giant lizard. Hopefully, we'll see what happens. I'll see what I can do about that one, Cornucopia. The strongest of all monsters. So yeah, we got some reptiles in our next battle in a swamp. So there's our hint for that. So, as always, this is, I want to thank everyone for joining me for this quick Monster vs. Monster fight. Herr Doctor, Cornucopia, Julian Calero, let's see here, who else do we have going back? Vincent Roberto, I think that's everyone. Yes, short amount of viewers, but thank you all so much. You all have been amazing. Thank you so much for hanging out to the end of this Monster vs. Monster and watching it all the way through. You are all amazing people. And for anyone that watches this later on and gets all the way to this point in the video, thank you so much. You're amazing as well. And this is me, Andrew, of D&D CR Exposed here on the YouTube for Monster vs. Monster. Asking the question as always, are your encounters even rated? Have a good night, folks, and we'll see you next Monday for another installment of Monster vs. Monster.